So listen to this. What in the world has been going on in this transfer market? Wirtz, Eki, Tike, Gyökeres, Estevão, Kudus, Zubimendi, Frimpong, Mateus Cunha, João Pedro, Kudus. Even Alanga went for 60 million. We're being overwhelmed with transfer news. It's like every team is in the middle of a rebuild, and oddly enough, the ones who've been the most quiet were City. Their biggest signing was Reinders for 55 million, which is nothing in this economy. Yet, the one signing that I feel is gonna catch many by surprise isn't even their second biggest, it's their third. 36.5 million for Rayan Cherki. But it's all smoke and mirrors. Had Lyon not been on the brink of bankruptcy, within inches of being relegated over their financial issues, this would have never happened. Cherki has been around for so long, a lot of fans have been misled into believing he's just some problematic, washed-up street baller, just an ex-Quaresma, Ben Arfa, Nabil Fekir. But here's the thing, though he has been playing for Lyon since 2019, he's still only 21, and this last season, he put down 36 goal contributions. There's no point in bringing up allegations of inconsistency or bad behavior anymore. While everyone was asleep, City secured a 100 million euro signing for just a measly 30-something. This is the most skillful player on the planet, ambidextrous to a level you've never seen before. Yet Henry himself saying that, "I have never seen a player who dribbles so fast with both feet." He himself doesn't know which is stronger. In fact, last season he took 44 shots, 22 with his left, 22 with his right. This guy is the chosen one. He was only 6 years old when one of Lyon's scouts saw him playing in a parking lot and in his own words said to himself, "Who is this monster?" From the moment he stepped foot into that academy, he was already treated as their best ever prospect. Martial, Lacazette, Benzema, Ben Arfa, Nabil Fekir himself. Lyon had made more money from selling their own players than any club in Europe aside from Benfica and Ajax, and still, Cherki was the one. By the time he hit 13 years of age, he had his own coach claiming that, "I see him a bit like an extraterrestrial." And though that same year, a growth spurt led him to develop osteochondritis, keeping him out of action for almost a full year, once he was back, despite being just 33 days over his 15th birthday, not only was he up to the under-19s, but he was being brought into the UEFA Youth League as the youngest to ever step foot in it, and 5 minutes later, he had already gotten a goal. It was so unbelievable for his age that the moment he got back home and hit the Coupe Gambardella, one of the biggest youth tournaments in France, his clips just started going viral. Rainbow flicks, nutmegs, and even a hat-trick within 5 minutes. He had the rival fans clapping for him every match, so Lyon were forced to fast-track him to the first team like they had never done before. He was 15, already playing for their reserves, and by summer, with rumors inside the club itself that he already had an agreement with Real Madrid and the newspapers claiming he was locked in with Man United. Once the club was caught off guard by pictures of Cherki playing in a Chelsea shirt, they just threatened to go straight to FIFA, got him on the first plane back home, and put so much money on the table to get the 15-year-old to sign a contract that their president could only describe it as an unprecedented investment in football. Still, doubting if this now 16-year-old was being moved on too quickly, they sent him into the UEFA Youth League again, and he proceeded to score in every match at a rate of a goal contribution every 59 minutes, scoring an injury time winner to send Lyon towards their best ever performance in the tournament, only to get cut from the team and watch them get knocked out instantly because now, well, with the first team on their worst run since 1977, he was given his debut in yet another winless match, as their president called him our ray of sunshine on a rainy afternoon, the youngest player to ever step foot in Ligue 1. And worse, forget the Youth League entirely. A month later, he was already playing Champions League football, the second youngest in history to ever do so. By January, he had broken a 36-year-old record to become Lyon's youngest ever goal scorer, and that was all before they pissed him off. After a single game without being called up from the bench, he outright told the staff to just send him back to the under-19s if he wasn't gonna be given game time, but instead, they decided to start him the next game, assuming it would be kind of a reality check for the kid. But that day, he flipped the script on them, dribbling the keeper for the opener in the first minute of the match, putting it between his legs 8 minutes later to make it 2-0, and once Nantes pulled one back, he assisted assisted 2 more goals and even won a penalty that his teammate ended up missing to clutch a 4-3 win. He had defenders falling flat on their faces. It was outrageous. He had an ex-League Up player commentating the match, drooling over him, saying that he had better stats in 70 minutes than he had in 11 years. The next day, the cover of L'Equipe was literally just him midway through a dribble and the words Cherki show. There were so many comparisons to the likes of Messi and Ozil that Mbappe himself stepped in, tweeting at the newspapers to not talk too much about his age. And by the end of the season, even with the pandemic in the way and the Champions League being reworked into a summer tournament, among rumors of a call-up to the Euros and a placement as the #1 talent in Europe, he was given the chance of becoming the youngest ever to play a UCL final, and though they did lose to Bayern, he skinned Alphonso Davies, stepping up to the post-match interview, getting asked how a kid as young as him could deal with all this, and just replying that, "I don't really feel any pressure, it's easy for me." Though these would be the words you would regret the most, because that would be the start of Lyon's dark ages, as they slowly stumbled through one financial nightmare after the other towards what seemed like an inevitable relegation, and soon, Cherki would be correcting himself by admitting that, in reality soon, I'd be going home at the end of every season and sitting with my mom just crying. It was only at the end of each year that I could let go of all that pressure. Regardless, his second season still had an hopeful start. Halfway through it, the 17-year-old was out-dribbling Neymar, topping the charts as the player with the most successful dribbles in the league, and over the second half, he even started scoring. But as he showed up 4 matches from the end of the season with 2 minutes left on the clock to bang in the winner against Monaco and keep their run for Champions League qualification alive, then hitting 2 assists over the next 2 games, only to be benched for the final one as they choked without him, the fans began quickly forgetting he was still just a kid. So the next year, the trouble began. Even with their new coach Peter Bosz leaving him out of most matches, this idea that Cherki was Lyon's savior took over, and once they dropped to the bottom half of the table, fueled by inflammatory remarks from the likes of club legend and sporting director Juninho, who claimed he grew up thinking first of himself, second of himself, third of himself, and only then of the team, Cherki began being labeled as problematic, even though other staff members, much closer to him than any sporting director, insisted his youth and flair were being misconstrued as arrogance, going as far as saying that it's a cliche to say that about any North African player from the suburbs, that he was no Nasri, no Tarabt, he was always on time and ready to work. There are people trying to smash him over every lost ball, when each one is just another step for a kid making his way towards greatness. This was a 17-year-old who had already gone through the trouble of getting his own fitness and psychological coaches, even a personal chef. None of this persecution made any sense, but it only got worse when he broke his foot and got sidelined for the rest of the season. Even once fit, Peter Bosz had him chained to the bench. By the time he got sacked, he had only given him over 25 minutes of game time once, despite the kid averaging a goal contribution every 66 minutes, meaning that once Laurent Blanc took over, he was quick to fix that, and soon, Cherki kept showing up whenever his team needed him, closing out the season with a roulette to assist Caqueret and then a goal for himself, as they beat Monaco in a match they foolishly believed would have secured them a place in Europe. Even with the French under-21s, he was now on a run that would see him put down 16 goal contributions in 16 games. He was up to 13th in the Golden Boy rankings, the highest in Ligue 1. But just as his confidence was being built back up, they tore it down. Midway through that season, John Textor had bought the club and promised to preside it alongside the iconic Jean-Michel Aulas, who had led them to their golden age in the 2000s. However, over summer, they were already entering a massive feud, with Textor claiming Aulas had hidden over 400 million euros of debt before the sale, leading to a defamation lawsuit just as the DNCG, French football's financial watchdog, came in with massive sanctions, forcing Lyon to offload most of their biggest talent talents to pay off their debt. Barcola, Moussa Dembélé, Aouar, Boateng and Malo Gusto, forcing Textor to route any signings he wanted to make through other clubs he owned, famously making a ridiculously poor effort to disguise the signing of Nuama, bringing him into his Belgian club Molenbeek, and then quickly loaning him to Lyon, meaning he had not just broken the club's transfer record in the process, but it was a fee 8 times higher than any other deal they had ever completed. And still, Cherki was untouchable. No matter how much Chelsea insisted, they refused to sell him, even if, at times, it seemed they might as well have. 4 games into that season, Blanc was already getting the sack as their own ultras berated the team for tarnishing the Lyon jersey. Then Fabio Grosso replaced him, but 7 matches later he was gone too. They were so desperate they ended up appointing Pierre Sage, whose entire resume consisted of youth coach roles and being an assistant manager in the 4th tier. After all, they were in last place with a single win 14 matches into the season, so it surely couldn't get much worse. And hilariously, it was kind of perfect. The guy flipped their form into 3 consecutive wins just as the winter market opened, and then the DNCG lifted their restrictions thanks to some shady moves by Textor, who sold their own women's team as well as their indoor arena to one of his own companies in order to free up enough that to bring in 7 new signings, leading Cherki back onto the bench. He flourished regardless, averaging a goal contribution every 97 minutes throughout the remainder of the season, at one point coming in with 24 minutes left as his team trailed 2-1 behind Toulouse, and quickly smacking one in between the keeper's legs and then curling in the perfect corner to give them the win. Though that doesn't even paint a full picture. In those 24 minutes, he took on more players and created more goal-scoring chances than anyone had over that full match. So much that every time the manager called back to that day, he just referred to it as the Cherki game. By the end of that season, Lyon had won more points over that second half than any other team in the league, including PSG, earning Europa League qualification when it seemed impossible, and even worse, with Cherki scoring or assisting in damn near every round. Not only did he put them in the French Cup final, he got another assist there as well, even if they'd lose it to PSG no matter what. At that point, I feel like everyone should have known what would happen next, but they didn't. The season started with Fulham putting in bids as low as £12 million before PSG and Dortmund upped the stakes, and then text messages got leaked in which Textor referred to Cherki as a little prick, before correcting himself and writing that really he's a good kid, his team are the ones who are a bunch of pricks. Though his own mother and brother are his managers, so soon he was pretty much on strike, training separately from the team, all the way until the 5th match day, when he came back, finally looking as hungry as he did in his first season. In just 7 minutes of game time, in that first match he got a goal, 4 days later he had another, a week after that 2 assists, and believe it or not, at that point, he was still catching his stride. In December, he opened things up with a goal and assist against Angers. The next game, against Eintracht Frankfurt, he either scored or assisted all 3 of their goals to take a 3-2 win, and that same week added an assist against PSG. But if, at this point, he was already at 12 goal contributions, matching his best ever tally, he was also getting repeatedly praised for how much more mature he looked. Forget the flicks and tricks. Now the 21-year-old was reading the game beautifully, simplifying it when he could, showing up precisely where he needed to be, orchestrating their transitions, and above all, he was now even becoming a meaningful defensive asset. It was unbelievable how fast he was growing, and then the second half of the season made the first look average. Starting in February, all without missing a single game, he hit an assist against Marseille, a few days later a goal and 2 assists, then another assist against Montpellier and a goal against PSG. The next week, 2 assists in a 2-1 win and then a goal despite coming in with 13 minutes left, all right in between a last 16 matchup against Steaua Bucharest, where he absolutely ran the show, assisting 4 goals, 2 at home and 2 away, making it 3 goals and 10 assists in 8 consecutive matches, as well as bringing his Europa League tally into the double digits just as they were about to face off against United. For the first leg, Cherki showed up 30 seconds from the end to chip on Nana and tie the game, and in the second, with the game in extra time tied 4-4 on aggregate and Lyon down to 10 men, he caught onto a lost ball and sent it straight into the net before Onana could even try to save it, making sure to grab his you-know-what as he stared towards the United fans. Suddenly, Lyon were leading by 2 goals 7 minutes away from matching their best ever campaign, but then, one of the greatest comebacks ever took place. Maybe it was karma, but one way or another, Cherki had 12 goal contributions in 12 Europa League matches. The whole competition would end without anyone else getting such numbers. For some perspective, he had almost twice as many assists as anyone else. Matter of fact, it was the all-time record. There was no debate for Young Player of the Year or for his right to a place in the best 11, and the same applied to Ligue 1. Cherki was in that Team of the Year too, who was, interestingly, named Dribbler of the Year and topped the assist charts as well, meaning that across Europe, no one had averaged more expected assists per 90 as him. He simply was the most creative player in the top 5 leagues, and with the DNCG coming back, uncovering all of Dexter's schemes and forcing him to sell the club as for a few days, they were technically relegated. Lyon were forced to sell Cherki, with Guardiola jumping on that deal right on time, as the moment Cherki was given his national team debut by being brought on with 27 minutes left as they trailed 5-1 against Spain, he overshadowed everyone else with one ridiculous pass after the other, the goal of the tournament and an assist. For one night, he looked like the best on the planet, almost bringing to life an impossible comeback, but before anyone else had any ideas, he was locked in at City, and given that his performances at the Club World Cup have allowed him to close his season with 36 goal contributions in 3,200 minutes, well, with Haaland up front, maybe his claim that he is here to win the Ballon d'Or isn't as crazy as it sounds.